This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com and Equities.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, I'm bringing back my returning guest, and I'll tell you what, if this company doesn't blow up, then I've got to get out of the business, because I'll tell you what, their market cap's only at $270,000, and they've got millions and millions of assets. Yes, do they have a little debt? They do, but this is grossly undervalued. Take a look at Rennova Health, Inc. They trade on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol RNVA. And with us today is the CEO and Director and President, Seamus Lagan. Seamus, welcome back to the show.
Everett, thank you. Good to be back.
You know, your third quarter showed a continued improvement in revenues. You said it would back on the last time you were on the show back in September. You guys this time reported about $5 million in revenue for the quarter. You also said your target was to collect about $2.5 million a month. And does that mean you expect to report about $7.5 million in the revenues in the fourth quarter? Bring us up to speed.
That's definitely our target, Everett. I want to be careful with trying to say what we will report.
Right.
We obviously have a conservative revenue recognition policy. We still have an allowance for bad debt, which is deductible from contracts, etc. But we continue to monitor that, and the target is definitely in the range you just mentioned. Don't know that that's what we'll manage to hit, but even in the third quarter, I mean, we reported $5 million, and we had an offset of about $3 million in bad debt, which that hits our revenue directly. It's a number that we continually monitor, and as we get a few months of history under these hospitals under collections, I do believe that bad debt percentage will be adjusted downwards and will therefore increase the revenue that we report.
Well, let's talk about that revenue versus debt and everything. Your market cap's at $270,000. I think you're grossly undervalued. That being said, what's the game plan going forward of M&A? How's the health of the two hospitals that we're in right now? If you would extrapolate your game plan for us.
Look, the two hospitals are doing in line with what we expected. I think that, as you said, we've made previous statements on your show of what we believe or we expect to materialize, and we've been very close to that mark. So the two hospitals at the moment, I believe, can do $2.5 million a month combined, and I believe they will be profitable at that. And we are on target to be going out the end of the year with that level of revenue. We continue to look at opportunities to add new services, look for the low-hanging fruit. Where can we add new services with the least capital investment? And we're very pleased with the current path that we're on with these hospitals.
Well, let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla, which I don't think it's really an 800-pound gorilla in the room. Let's talk about conversion debt. The run rate, you could be anywhere from $60 million to $100 million. That being said, I think maybe your debt ratio is about $15 million. Let's talk about the pressure that your stock's been under. Where do we go from here?
Oh, that is the big question, Everett. Look, we all believe that we're undervalued at the moment. The convertible debt has definitely confused our investors and kept a lot of pressure on our share price. The reality is those investors, those institutional investors, they wrote checks for the company at a very high-risk time, at a time when it was very difficult to secure all their capital. And they, are entitled, outside of any control of the company, to convert that debt to equity. That said, we will continue to, reduce that debt. Hopefully, that type of financing is behind us. I believe that the revenues and the progress the company is making will allow us to secure much more reasonable financing going forward. And look, the company continues to look at all options available to it to create value for shareholders, and perhaps at some stage we will be able to secure enough money on much better terms to make a significant reduction in that existing, convertible debt. Who knows? I mean, I can't I can't predict what we will achieve. I can just tell you that we're working very hard to make sure that we have a successful business underlying this company, underlying the shares. And if we can do that, we believe we will create value.
Rennova Health is my guest today that we're highlighting here on Stock Day. You can find them on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol RNVA. This is my personal opinion. I think it's the most undervalued stock on the OTC markets, and there's about 10,000 of them on there. That being said, you just announced the acquisition of a third hospital, and it looks like about a similar size as the ones you currently own. What can you tell us about the acquisition, and when do you expect for this to close?
Everett, we made no secret of the fact that we were looking for additional hospitals in the same geographic location. We like this Tennessee area. We believe there are synergies in management and services and costs in having a number of hospitals in close vicinity to each other. That's exactly what we've tried to do. So this third hospital fits the model that we already have. It will deliver a lot of synergies. It's a beautiful facility. It's a city-owned property, so the property is in excellent condition, and we do plan to close it very early in first quarter of next year. So we believe it'll be an immediate contributor to revenue going forward immediately after we get it closed.
To bring my listeners up to date and give you some new, fresh metrics, if I will, the float now currently is 27 million shares. The market cap is around 270,000 to 300,000. Stock price is at 1 cent. I'm a buyer here. I brought you a lot of stocks in the forefront. This stock is a winner. Again, it's my personal opinion. I would buy it. Let me ask you this, Seamus, before I let you go. What would you like my listeners to take away from this interview?
The main thing I would like the investors to appreciate is that we do continue to focus on the business. We are firm believers that if the underlying business works and the underlying business delivers an increase in revenue and is profitable, can pay its bills, then we will very quickly climb out of the difficult history that we had. And I have to believe that will overcome all the short-term current, stock market share price related issues that our investors are more than frustrated about.
I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. Let's don't confuse the static for right now for the future, because you guys got a bright future. I think you're doing a bang-up job over there. So we got to pay the fiddler a little bit of money, but $15 million is nothing compared to the revenues that are going to start trickling in here in the first and second and third quarter of 2019. In closing, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you would like to illustrate to my listeners? I
think you covered it all, Everett. We just continue to make progress in the business. We go into 19 with a third hospital in contract for acquisition. We do expect and hope that closes successfully, and we'll continue to look at other opportunities, grow our physicians' practices surrounding the hospitals, and let's see what 2019 brings for us.
For my listeners, if you're looking to get into a rural hospital on the ground floor, look no further than Rennova Health. You can find them on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol RNVA. Very undervalued here at 1 cent. Seamus, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. Keep your head up. You're doing a bang-up job, and hopefully you'll come back on the show here next month.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Everett.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.